In today's video, we find ourselves in North Wales, a few miles inland from Portmeirion, at the home of Sir Clough Williams-Ellis, the famous architect who designed Portmeirion. Now we're actually going to visit a tower that lies on a hill on the outer edges of the grounds. We'll begin at the bottom of quite a steep hill, as it turned out, and we're now outside the actual home of Sir Clough. And this is currently a tourist attraction where you can pay to visit the gardens, and there is quite a decent cafe in there, and it's well worth a visit in its own right. So first of all, we need to go through these blue gates that you can see, which if you're a visitor to Portmeirion, they'll be very familiar to you with the colour scheme and the general style. And once we're through the gates, we immediately start to climb up quite a steep hill. And we'll gradually trudge our way, and eventually we'll come to the first point of interest, which is this. Now, this statue actually commemorates a fire that happened in Clough's home in 1951 and was subsequently restored, and this wasn't completed until 1953. The statue was put here to remember the fire. There is a plaque actually commemorating this at the bottom of the urn as you stand there. And as you look over the railings, you can see the pool below and the waterfall. I did in fact climb down so you could actually see what the waterfall looks like from the other side, so you can see it. It's not exactly spectacular, but it's pretty in its own way, and it does look quite rugged. I should imagine that when the water is in full flow, it does look a bit more spectacular than the day that I visited. Eventually, as you climb further up the path and go further uphill, you'll come to this rather elaborate set of gates with a pedestrian access on the right hand side. As we climb the hill, once you get through the gates, you'll come to this sort of semicircular stone, which I had no idea what it was actually for and was kind of curious about it. But then, as I was standing there, one of the locals was walking by, taking their dog for a walk, and we got into a conversation, and she explained to me that this is actually another design of Sir Clough's and was built for a very specific purpose, to actually do some stargazing. Because when you look at it from the side, it is actually at a very unusual angle. So it's designed so you can sit back, and when it's dark, you can look up through the trees, as it is a clear space all around this rock formation that's being built here, and look up at the stars. And I'm sure on a clear night, even today, you can probably see quite a lot when there's no cloud in the sky. But that's typical Sir Clough, and I had no idea what that was there for. So whoever that local was, I'd say thank you very much. You've solved a mystery for me. But once you get beyond and you start to climb a little bit further, the tower itself should then start to come into view. Now, the origins of this are actually down to Sir Clough's marriage, which took place in 1915. And at the time, he was serving in the Welsh Guards, and his commanding officer was kind of perturbed when he mentioned a wedding present as a possibility to Sir Clough, and he suggested having this tower built. So the troops from his regiment proceeded to build this, and it's what is known as a folly, which is basically a building that is essentially a fake ruin or fake castle. And it's typical Sir Clough, really, as he is one for illusions and buildings that don't always appear to be what they seem. And this is a fairly early example of it. And there is actually a plaque to commemorate the building and does state clearly why it was built. So although it has the look of a ruin, it is in fact a relatively modern building, and not from the era that the style actually suggests in any way. And you can climb this tower and get to the top. And one point of interest here is this was actually used as a location in quite a famous episode of Doctor Who from the 1980s. And there's some still images here just to show you how it looked then and how it was used. I would say the one essential difference here is that the vegetation around the tower has grown significantly. There is one shot, this still that you can see here, which shows you the view from the bottom of the tower looking out over the hills, and by today's standards it's a lot clearer. So this was actually filmed in 1983, somewhere around February and March of 83. So in the intervening years there has been quite a lot of growth. So to climb the tower itself, you need to take those rather precarious looking steps, and then you'll pass through a room on the first floor that takes you through to another flight of steps, and then eventually you will come out to the top, and there is quite a commanding view over the nearby hills. And there we can see the top of the stairs, and as the camera pans round, initially on the one side you will see a lot of trees, but when you look around in the opposite direction you can see for quite a distance, and you can see the Snowdon mountain ranges, various hills in front of it, and it's quite a spectacular sight from there. So I would say that if you are visiting Sir Clough's house and doing the gardens and the grounds and the cafe, it's worth just popping over the road and taking a walk up the hill. It's not too strenuous. Well, thinking about it now, thinking back to the 1980s when they filmed the Doctor Who episode there, I don't envy the poor people who had to drag that TARDIS prop all the way up the hill. And here you can see the fake ruin of another tower that of course was never fully completed, but made to look like it's possibly a battle-scarred, ruined castle and its associated tower. It probably looks more convincing than when it was originally built in the early 20th century. So, there you have it. A very quick visit to an interesting architectural ruin that isn't really a ruin, and another masterpiece of Sir Clough Williams-Ellis, just purely built because he wanted it and he could, as he often did. So thank you very much for watching this quick video, taking a little look at this unusual building. As usual, please like, comment and subscribe, and goodbye for now.